Bellinger moves on in, and he scores!
Gonna learn today.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to another episode of the Pod Street Bullies. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Derek.
And I am John. What's going on, everybody?
I'll apologize ahead of time. I'm battling a bit of a cold here, so it might sound nasally, might sound annoying, but
It's a little early. It's a little early, man. You're not supposed to get colds until, like October.
I know. I blame it on my wife being a teacher and all those germy, snot-nosed kids that just bring those germs into school, and it probably isn't their fault. I don't know how I caught this, but regardless.
No, dude, it's definitely their fault. I'm a teacher.
Yeah.
I get sick all the time because of them.
Oh, it's a pain. But anyways, after digressing there, folks, we've got a pretty decent episode here lined up. We're going to keep along with the, the scale, I guess you could call that. We're going to talk some prospects here. This is our bread and butter. We have that lined up. Oh, as always, the Wait What segment. We've got your Twitter poll, not question, but we asked you guys for projections this week.
Right.
And we'll go over a couple of those.
Yeah, that's just going to be fun. So we're doing a prospect pressure scale, right? Seeing who's got the most pressure in the prospect pool.
This one's going to be fun. There's a lot of prospects, but not all of them are going to feel the pressure.
Right. Some of them will go quickly because there really isn't any pressure there. But for some, right? Some people like to go, you shouldn't put pressure on these young kids. But when you're drafted in the first round and there's high expectations, there's going to be pressure. So we're going to do our best to kind of put them in a pressure position, right?
Oh, absolutely. And before we get started here, I would just want to touch on one thing real quick. Tell me if this rings a bell for you, John. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
112.52 to 81.06. Do you know what those numbers mean?
Listen, all right. Fantasy football is a joke.
I can tell by your image here. What is it? Fantasy football loser, and it's a poop emoji.
Yeah, I've just figured I wouldn't rename my team. Probably not going to win.
It's okay. Not everybody can be as good at fantasy football as me. I get it.
I don't know what the heck. Listen, it's week 1, but I had to pick 6th, right? And I ran into this problem because I like to pick running back first.
Of course.
But all the good running backs were taken, so then you end up taking a receiver. I took DeAndre Hopkins. And then by the time I picked again, there still was a better receiver to take than a running back. And then you just wind up with a poop sandwich.
But you've got a PPR league here too, though, so you're getting points for every catch.
Right.
So it works to your advantage there, but still, you do need a running back.
I know. And when my best running back is, what's his name from the Colts?
Marlon Mack?
Yeah.
Yeah. Not looking too good for you, buddy. I'm sorry, but I'm not sorry. Anyways,
all right.
We're going to get back to hockey here, folks. We're going to run down this list. We've got professionals, which were essentially, it's just the AHL. We've got the Canadian hockey leagues, the BCHL, college hockey, and some European hockey players as well.
Yep.
But to knock things off here, first, we're going to touch on Nicolas Aube-Kubel.
Yeah. So, do you want me to start or do you want to start?
I'm going to take this one, and I'm going to go to you for the next one here.
Okay.
I've always been a big Aube-Kubel fan, and I feel like he's always been on the brink. Like, he's always been that guy that everybody's like, yeah, he's next up. He's the one that's coming up to the Flyers next. And in 9 games last year, it's not a ton of time to tell, but no points. Wasn't necessarily put into a good position either. I believe he was playing a majority fourth-line minutes. But, he also, from an article I wrote on him a couple weeks back, he ranks in the top 10 in most statistical categories for the Phantoms all time.
Mm-hmm.
So, as far as pressure goes, I think there is a little bit of pressure because there is a spot open on the roster. But I feel like he's just been surpassed at this point. And I hate to say it, but so be it,
Right, so where are you putting him 1 through 5?
1 through 5, I'm going to put him at a 4 because there's still definite pressure on him, and I think he could make the squad, because he's older, more mature, he knows the league. But again, these new players coming up through present a very difficult challenge for him to overcome.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go even further and give him a 5 because I think that he has to know the writing's on the wall. If he can't stick with the Flyers this year, it's not going to happen. So
Yeah.
I think that, if he doesn't get up there, he's got to go elsewhere. So you're going to put an incredible amount of pressure on yourself.
Yeah. And this is his last year on his current deal, so this could be the year that, really makes or breaks his career with either the Phantoms or the Flyers.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. So then we move on to our next guy. We've got Connor Bunnaman. This past year was his rookie year with the Phantoms. Played really well for a rookie. What do you think, John?
I'm going to go about a 3. Because
Okay.
I think Bunnaman kind of overperformed last year. People weren't really expecting to hear his name too much. And, 19 goals, 13 assists in 62 games. Good year. But the expectation is still not very high. If you look at the prospect pool that we have, there are just so many names ahead of him. So if he doesn't make the Flyers, which I'm not expecting him to do this year anyway, it's really not a big deal. So I stayed safe here and just gave him a 3.
And I'd probably put him at a 2 just under that, just because last year was his rookie year.
Yeah.
And putting up 32 points in 62 games is great for a rookie, but I think it kind of dates back to our last episode where it's like there's bigger fish to fry and there's more people to worry about in the Phantom system.
Right.
So I think Bunnaman could potentially fly under the radar if things go south in Lehigh Valley.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah.
I'd even go with a 2. You kind of convinced me. I'm going to change it to a 2.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a first for the Pod Street Bullies. But anyways, if we're going to keep on moving here, we've got new Lehigh Valley Phantom, presumably Joel Farabee.
Yep. You want to start?
I could do this. Yeah, let's do this.
Okay.
So Farabee's entering his first year of his ELC, and the expectations are there. A lot of people see him and another skater that we're going to mention here shortly as the front runners for that third line wing spot. And if we're going to go strictly off of that, I'm putting the pressure at a 5. Just because the way the fans put that pressure on you and you're like, okay, I'm being slated as this guy with the Flyers. I've got to make that team. The pressure's there. Now, he could spend some time in Lehigh Valley. I think that would be a good idea. But if he comes out in rookie camp and just tears it apart, not even rookie camp, training camp even, I mean, it might be his to lose.
Yeah, and that's why I agree with you, and I put him at a 5 because I think so many people have him as the guy winning the spot where there is that added pressure. I mean, everybody just says Joel Farabee's ready. There is no but he was playing somewhere else, so maybe he's not quite ready. For some reason, everybody's just like, well, college equals NHL ready. So we're going to stick him there. And so I think, a 5. I think he's got the most pressure he possibly could have.
Yeah, and it's not a bad thing. You could really find out a lot about who this kid is by the way he, responds to this.
Right.
But if we're going to keep moving on down the line here, we go to defenseman, 23-year-old Mark Friedman. Friedman's been a mainstay on the Phantoms blue line, my apologies, for a few years now, and has always kind of been like that next guy, like a Aube-Kubel, that next tier being surpassed by a Sanheim and a Myers, but has been very consistent for the Phantoms.
Yep. Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and take this one. I'm going to go at a 1 here.
Okay.
I don't think there's any pressure on him because I think everybody just views other people to surpass him. And if he were to play well enough to make the Flyers blue line, especially with all the people that are already on the Flyers blue line, it would be nothing but a very pleasant surprise.
Absolutely. And I'm going to put him at a 2 only because after this coming up season, he'll be a restricted free agent. So he still is playing for something and he wants to be a part of the Phantoms, but I see no reason why they wouldn't re-up with him.
Right. I mean, unless another team thinks that they can give him a crack at the NHL, because the Flyers just can't at this point.
Yeah, it's just too crowded on the blue line for the Flyers, for Friedman. And so be it. It happens.
Yep.
And then we move on down to the other person whose name has been tossed around for that third line winger spot. We have Morgan Frost. What's there to say about Morgan Frost?
I love Morgan Frost. I mean, he's my pick to take that third line winger position. I actually think he's more NHL ready than Joel Farabee. But I want to hear what you're going to put him on the scale before I give mine.
I'm going to put Frost at a 5. And it's much for the same reason as Farabee. And it almost makes me want to put Farabee at a 4 because I think there's more pressure on Frost because he's been in these camps before. He's been to training camp, and he just, the coaches will say he's being knocked off the puck. He's not strong enough on the puck, and he just needs to mature. He needs to get bigger, stronger, and the pressure's there because he's being tabbed as the next guy, really, if you think about it, for the Flyers. So I think this is going to be a very pivotal training camp for Morgan Frost, and if he lives up to expectations, I think you're right. I think we might see him playing with the Flyers in the fall.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to be right, but who knows? I mean, it's really a toss-up between those two, in my opinion. But I'm actually going to put him at a 4.
Okay.
Now, my reasoning behind it is if Farabee beats him for the position, and maybe Frost needs some seasoning in the AHL, there will always be the junior league doesn't quite prepare you for the NHL like college does defense that he could get away with. And whenever you have a defense, I feel like you can get knocked down a level on this scale. So I could see people throwing that excuse out there, and that's why I'm going to put him at a 4 not a 5.
Yeah. Well, for me, it's the old saying, excuses are like a-holes. Everyone's got one.
Right.
They all stink. But anyways, I definitely see where you're coming from there. I think him and Farabee, obviously, we all know, aside from another guy we'll mention here in a bit, are the front runners for that spot. And that comes with a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
And now we move on to another relatively young Phantom here. We've got David Kasha. I got it right this time. David. I got it wrong. I said David Case last time, sounding like an idiot, and then you were like, it's Kasha. And I'm like, oh, like that Drake gif where he's like, ooh, But I apologize. I should really get these right. David Kasha, pressure scale. What are you putting him at, John?
I mean, I'll go like a 2. I mean, some people have set some expectations on this guy, but I still think that the expectations in the big picture are quite low when you look at, the big picture. So again, he falls into that, like, would be a pleasant surprise type thing. I really don't think there's too much pressure there.
Yeah. He's kind of like a Bunneman for me, where, there's bigger pressure for other players, and Kasha just kind of flies under the radar a bit for me. Not to say he's not a great player. I mean, 23 points last year in 40 games, which is pretty good. But I'm going to put it at a 2 as well. There will be pressure, but for the time being, it's, hey, kid, go out there and play your game.
Right.
Yeah. So then we get to another new Phantom. We have Pascal Laberge. Not Labarge.
Not Labarge. Laberge.
Pascal Laberge, this will be, I believe, his first full season with the Phantoms.
Yeah, I mean, he's been stricken by the injury bug forever.
Yeah, and the kid's very talented, obviously. I mean, he was playing really well in the QMJHL. Now, at 21 years of age, he's finally making the jump to the AHL. Pressure-wise, I think it's up there. I'd go like 3.5. I don't want to necessarily put him at 4.
Oh, that seems cheap.
Oh, he's got to stay healthy, And
right.
That's kind of the half,
Well, that's why I really question if there's any kind of pressure on him. I mean, maybe the pressure he puts on himself, but I think at this point, the Flyers organization looks at him as somebody where it's like, I don't think he's in the picture anymore because he can't stay healthy. And then if he can, wow, great. That'd be fantastic.
It could be an added bonus, which would be phenomenal. But he was a third round pick, I believe?
Second round.
Second round pick. So with that comes some expectations. So yeah. I think that, if he can stay healthy, performs well, awesome. I love it, but he has to stay healthy.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to go to 2 here.
Yeah, I'll stick with my 3.5.
All right.
Next guy. I hesitated to put him on this list, but because he's young, Phil Myers.
Yeah, I go back and forth with this too. I mean, if you look at definitions of prospects, I guess he fits in that mold, but I mean, the guy's an NHLer now.
Yeah,
and to me, when you're an NHLer, to me, you're not a prospect.
No, should we just skip him then? Because we talked about him last week as well.
Yeah, no, I say we skip him.
Yeah, then we move on down the line here to Isaac Ratcliffe. Big Rat.
Yep.
Pressure scale. What do you got?
I'm going to go 3. I mean, I think he gets put into that conversation for somebody who could make the Flyers out of camp, but it's not like said as seriously as somebody like Farabee or Frost or another guy we'll talk about soon, because everyone's expecting him to really not be ready. I think eventually Isaac Ratcliffe is going to turn into a great NHLer, but there is an expectation that he's going to need some time in the AHL to kind of season a bit. So although he's going to want to make the Flyers, I don't think there's a whole lot of pressure there. So I'll go 3.
I agree. I'll side with you there. He's kind of that like 1B tier, right below Frost and Farabee for me.
Yeah.
Like you said, just give him a little bit of time to refine his game at the pro level, and then let's see what he's got.
Right. I mean, and the question also comes where it's like, what will the overall reaction be to him not making the Flyers? And it won't be like, oh no, he's not gonna be what we all thought he was. Everyone's gonna go, oh, all right.
Yeah, it's just kind of like, we kind of saw it coming.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then if we're gonna move on to the next guy whose name has been tossed around as that third line winger spot as well, we have Yermin Rubtsov. Mm-hmm. Injury cut his season short last year with the Phantoms, but he was playing really well before he got hurt.
14 games.
14 games, 10 points in those 14 games. People are saying that he might be ready to take that spot.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, for me, it's out of 5.
Yeah, he needs to prove it. He needs to stay healthy again. And if he does, I think they would side with him over Farabee and Frost because they kind of have the luxury of time with Farabee and Frost a bit.
Well, the thing is, too, you have to remember that before those good 14 games last year, the Flyers were kind of down on this guy. I think they were kind of ready to chalk him up as possibly a first-round bust. And then he had a great 14 games, and now we're all ready to crown him, the next guy on the NHL roster. Yeah. He didn't really play too much, so I feel like the perception has now added more pressure to him because we really don't know. I mean, what if he pooped the bed the rest of the season? We wouldn't be having this conversation.
Oh, no. If he'd have played an entire season last year and those first, 14 games were an anomaly, there's no discussion. It's Farabee and Frost, and that's pretty much it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the pressure scale, I'd go 4. I'm not going to put it at a 5, but there's definitely pressure because if your name's being tossed around as that option on the third line, there's definite pressure to that.
Well, yeah, but I also just look at it as where there's so much pressure for, say he doesn't make the team, but there's so much pressure for him to have a great season in Lehigh Valley too.
That very true.
I mean, it's not all about just making the team. If he doesn't, just pick up where he left off after those 14 games, it's a mess.
Oh yeah, I think he's got the capability to do so. He just needs to do it,
Right.
Yeah, then if we're going to move on from Rubtsov, we've got Matthew Strome, one of your favorite guys here.
Yep.
I don't see there being a ton of pressure on him, honestly.
Oh, I do.
Really?
I do.
Okay.
Because it all comes back to the dude can't skate stigma. If he starts not – let me try that again. If he starts playing and not performing right away, he's just going to get buried by that. Like, the guy is never going to be able to play in the NHL because he's not a great skater. And I think that having that adds more pressure to just do awesome right off the bat.
Yeah.
So I do think that there's a decent amount of pressure there. I'm not going to go as far to give him a 5, but I'll put him at a 4.
I'd probably put him at a 2 or a 3. I think he's coming into the AHL. This is his first year. I don't think a ton of people expect him to just light the league up, but he's definitely an electric player. And
Right.
I think that just putting too much pressure on him initially coming straight into the league, it's always bad business. You don't want to put a ton of pressure on these kids.
Right.
But that's not to say it won't happen. So I don't think his role with the team will call for a ton of pressure, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I don't know. I just think with such a deep pool of prospects, right, anything that goes against you puts you down down on the prospect depth chart, if you will, and you don't want to be buried. And I think that if he were to have some struggles in the beginning, you'd see him start to get buried. So that's why I think there's just pressure there.
Yeah, and it makes sense. But if you've got nothing else to add to Strome here,
No.
we're going to move down to Maxim Sushko. Again,
Yeah.
I don't see a ton of pressure on Sushko.
No. I mean, I think at this point, anything he does, if he performs well, it's a pleasant surprise, because I think a lot of people are just ready to count him out as far as someone who will make the NHL roster.
Yeah, much like LeBurge.
Yeah.
Yeah,
For different
that's-
reasons, though.
Yeah, not to say he can't be a good contributor for the Phantoms, but just it's not. I'm not looking at it thinking that guy needs to perform this year.
Right. Well, he didn't have the year that he needed to have with Owen Sound last year.
Yeah, it wasn't
So-
a terrible year, but it wasn't what you want to see.
Right. You want to see progression, and there really wasn't much.
It was more so the status quo.
Yeah.
Yeah. Then moving on, I guess did we give a number to that?
2.
Yeah, I'll go 2. Now we get to Carson Torensky. Another
This is
name.
an interesting one.
It is. I think we talked about this in our group chat. I think it was either earlier today or yesterday. I think there's pressure, but I don't know how to word this. I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to think about this.
Yeah, it's one of those things where I think the pressure has been added because of like fans and maybe some analysts' speculation. I'm not really 100% sure he's ready to get all sorts of pressure. I'll put him at a 3, because I guess the expectation is there a little bit, but realistically, right, this guy, there shouldn't be much pressure on him.
No, I think to try to sum up what I was going to say is that with the opening on the Flyers, I don't think that Torensky is the right guy for that opening.
No.
If it were a fourth line opening, I would see it. I would, because I don't see Torensky as like a flashy or, putting up a ton of points, but I could see him in a bottom 6 role. And bringing him up into, I guess, bottom 6 obviously fits the bill with the third line, but when you've got guys like Farabee and Frost up there, it's going to be tough to have him surpass them.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is with me, too, is I don't know what he showed last year that says, hey, I'm ready to be an NHLer.
Yeah,
I mean,
point totals
he had
weren't there.
Right, he had a decent enough rookie year, but to me, his production in his rookie year says, I'm going to need some more time. I can't wait to see, what he can do in Lehigh Valley this year.
Agreed. I think that give him a little more time to marinate down in Lehigh Valley, and I think he could be a contributor at the NHL level then down the road.
Right.
So, we move on to the next AHLer here. We have Misha Vorobyev.
Yeah.
Whew.
I mean, I guess the pressure is as high as it could possibly be with him, right? Because everybody thought he was going to be on the Flyers last year, and we all know how that experiment went.
Yeah, that was bad.
And I mean, I think I'm ready to count him out, move on past him. So this is kind of his make or break year.
It is, I agree. And he's also a restricted free agent at the end of the year, so he's got to play for a contract, and he needs to earn it at this point.
Right.
I'd put the pressure at a 5.
Yeah, me too.
Perfect. Then we move on to the 2 goalies within the system here. We've got Felix Sandstrom first off. Wow, man, this is tough. Do you think
Yeah.
there's pressure on these guys?
I kind of want to lump them both together if you don't mind. I mean, if you want to treat them separately, you can, but I don't think there's pressure on either of them. I would go, I mean, because you're a goalie, I guess there's a little bit, but I'll go 2 just because there's Carter Hart.
Yeah.
We don't need these guys to be our starting goaltender. It'd be great for them to be a backup and have that caliber, but at this point we're not relying on them.
No, we've got enough right now with Hart. We've got Elliott backing him up. Lyon, we've got JF Berube. Berube's on a 1-year deal. I don't think he's sticking with the team. I hope not, at least. But this is basically a battle for A, the starting job in Lehigh Valley next year, probably, or
right.
B, the backup spot behind Hart. But it's tough because do you want a younger backup behind Hart? Everybody's been gung-ho about the veteran goalie, the veteran backup, you know? And,
yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a conversation we're having until next preseason.
Yeah.
You know, so I think that both Sandstrom and Ustimenko are going to benefit from having very little pressure on them this year.
Yeah, I think if you're going to rank them, I think there's more on Ustimenko just because he'll presumably be the ECHLer to start things off.
Right.
But, you know, it's not a substantial amount more pressure than what's on Sandstrom.
Yeah.
So then we jump over to the CHL. We've got 5 guys here that we can talk about. We've got Igor Serdyuk, and I probably butchered that, so you know who I'm talking about.
Yeah. So a few of these guys we're just going to fly through, and he's one of them. There's an intriguing part to Serdyuk's game, but it was also a 6th-round pick. The expectation is not very high, so I'm going to go ahead and put it at a 1 for now.
Yeah, I'm going to put it at a 1 as well. He's young. He had a great rookie year in the queue. Just, you know, keep doing your thing down there.
Right.
Yeah. Next guy, Mason Millman.
This is an interesting one because I think if we're just talking about Mason Millman and his progression as a player, it should be very low. I'm thinking 2. But a lot of people right now are ready to make Mason Millman the steal of the draft based off of what he did in 2 preseason games. And when you add unnecessary expectations to someone, the pressure has to go up. I mean, from a realistic standpoint, we have to understand that this guy is ways away. So I'll go ahead and put it at a 3.
Yeah, I'll go 2. You know, people are talking him up, and that adds a bit of pressure. But at this rate, he was a late round pick for the. He was what, 4th or 5th round?
4th
round. I'm not gonna lump all these expectations on a guy that was picked in that round.
Right. Yeah.
Then we move on down to somebody who was drafted in the 7th round, Wyatt Wiley.
Wyatt Wiley wasn't drafted in the 7th round, my friend.
I'm thinking Kalinick. I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. He was in the 5th round.
5th round. My apologies. This cold's really screwing with my head.
It's all right, man. I'll forgive you.
Yeah, John's going to take it from here. Wyatt Wiley, Everett Silvertips, former teammate of Carter Hart.
Yep. This is an interesting one because he has not signed his ELC. This is his last year in Everett. If he doesn't sign, you know, he goes back to Everett, and then I believe he could be a free agent, yeah? If they don't sign him.
I believe so, yes.
So this is kind of the year, but I have a little bit of a feeling that they're going to sign him to his entry-level contract during training camp.
I do too.
So if that's the case, the pressure's pretty low. I would say a 2 because I think they expect Wiley to take some time in the AHL. But then again, if he doesn't sign his ELC and he's playing with his last year in Everett, the pressure goes higher. I mean, it could be a 4 if you wanted it to be.
Yeah, and I've heard that Mark Friedman is out with abdominal surgery.
Yep.
I don't know how long, but I think this could be Wiley's opening that he needs.
Yeah.
You know,
that'd be great.
I'd love to see it, yeah. So pressure's low, but if he were to sign that ELC, I think it jumps up a little bit just because, you know, it's the next level, and it's time to roll, baby.
It's funny because that's the opposite of what I think. I think there's less pressure if he signs.
Really?
Yeah, because I think that if he signs, then he's got the comfort of that contract, and everyone's kind of expecting him to take some time. But if he doesn't have the comfort of that contract, he's essentially playing for his future this year in Everett.
That makes sense. When you put it that way, it definitely makes sense.
So, yeah, I mean, who knows? I think he's going to sign, so I'm going to say 2.
Yeah. Okay, I'll go 2 as well. I'll go 2-2. We jump over to another defenseman that the Flyers actually do have under contract, Egor Zamula.
Yep. I mean, he's a fun one to watch. Again, he's someone that I think the pressure should be low just because he's young, and we already have a young blue line, so we don't need him to contribute anytime soon. But everybody's ready to crown him the next Phil Myers, which means that there is some extra pressure there. But I'll go 3.
Yeah, I'm going to go 2. We know he's good. We know he's offensively gifted as well.
Yep.
It's just, I mean, we have a blue line with the Flyers right now, and it seems that the Phantoms' blue line is pretty set with all the signings that Fletcher made over the offseason as well. So, let him craft his game down there, and then when he gets the shot up with Lehigh Valley, let him craft his game there. And it seems like the blue line for the Flyers will be set for a little bit here, so it kind of gives him the luxury of time.
Well, just to clarify, too, if Zamula doesn't make the Flyers out of camp, he can't be sent to Lehigh Valley.
No, yeah, he'll be sent back down to Calgary, the Hitmen.
Right. Yeah, because of the CHL agreement thing that they have. You have to be 20. He's only 19.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess if there's nothing else to add to Zamula here, I'm going to go over to another goaltending prospect. We have Roddy Ross, who was chosen with this draft as well.
Yeah, I mean, if we were going as low as 0, I would say 0.
Can we go negative?
Yeah, there's just no pressure here.
Yeah, the kid, he's athletic as all hell. Brought the Thunderbirds back into the playoff hunt last year, but he's another goalie in a prospect flooded with quality, or in a pool flooded with quality prospects.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I mean, again, he would be a pleasant surprise, but no, there's no pressure there.
Yeah.
He's also never had a full season so far in the WHL, so
yeah,
there's a lot of unknown.
Exactly. So then we get to the next guy, who I have a feeling is I don't know how high this meter goes, but it's going to reach the top. Jay O'Brien.
I got 5 on it. Yeah. You hate to do it to somebody like Jay O'Brien, but the pressure is as high as it could possibly be, because if he doesn't score about over 100 points with Penticton this year, he's going to be ruled as a bust.
Yeah. The way he's kind of handled all this stuff recently, it's like, dude, it's put up or shut up time.
Right. Well, and that's the thing, too. I mean, you can't look at the BCHL as if he were to go to the QMJHL, which seemed like the other option when we were talking about the juniors and Junior A. Because if he went to the Q, he could maybe go under a point per game and people wouldn't mind. I've been reading some things about expectations with him and what he should accomplish, and they're saying he should average 2 points a game in Penticton.
That's pretty lofty.
Well, they compared it to what other now NHLers were doing there.
True.
And it was like, man, could you talk about any more pressure at this point? Because you have to. His first game with the V's, he didn't score any points. Now, yesterday, being Saturday, he scored 2 points. But it's like, you have to pile them on, man.
Yeah. I mean, he was piling them on in the preseason.
Yeah, but
that's preseason, you know?
Right. Yeah. I mean, anything that he does questionable, it's really going to take a toll on him.
Yeah. It's, man, it's definitely a 5, that's for sure. He's a first-round pick, former first-round pick. The guy needs to put the points up, and he needs to show that he's improving. Simple as that.
And the thing is, we can go over and over again about how Ron Hextall probably reached on this one, and maybe he shouldn't have been a first-round pick, but he was. So pressure's there.
Yeah, that's the fact of the matter. So we move on to the college hockey edition here. We've got first guy, Wade Allison.
Yeah, so anytime you're going into your senior year of college, you have to have the maximum amount of pressure there, because that means you are not signed to an entry-level contract, so it means you're playing for your future. And if Wade Allison isn't signed, this spring or whatever, they have that window, whatever it is.
30 days after, yeah.
Yeah, so then the Flyers don't have him anymore. Now, whether that's a Flyers decision or Wade Allison decision is a conversation for a different time, but he had an injury-plagued year last year, and it was really unfortunate because he was just the expectation was so high for him. So hopefully he can get back to the way he was in his sophomore year. But yeah, the pressure's as high as it could be.
Yeah, like you said, I mean, you covered it all. Senior year, the guy needs to prove why he should be on the Phantoms next year, or Flyers if you want to go that far. But
right,
it's a 5. It's a 5.
Yep.
Now we have another recent draft pick from this past year, Ronnie Attard, heading over to Western Michigan to be teammates with Wade Allison this next year.
Yep.
Pressure, is it on, or is it or is it non-existent?
I'm going to go 4.
Okay.
So when you're the USHL Player of the Year, there's some expectation that comes with that. And if you look at what Attard did before that, it doesn't quite match up to the year he had last year. And I think a lot of people are just super excited about this pick, and it could possibly not turn out the way everyone's expecting.
Yeah.
So again, when there's those expectations, there's some pressure. There really shouldn't be, but I think there is here. Because I'm sorry, and I keep rambling, but it's another one of those things where it's like, if he messes up, he's going to start thinking in his head, oh no, was last year a fluke? And that can't be happening.
No, that internal conflict cannot happen.
Right.
Yeah, the pressure's on, but at the same rate, it's not as high as a Wade Allison.
Right.
But it's there because, like you said, USHL Player of the Year, there's definite expectations.
And keep in mind, he's already 20.
Yeah.
Very
true. So if we move down the line to the next guy, we've got Bobby Brink.
Yeah.
Bobby Brink. Heading to University of Denver this year.
I think I'll go 3 here. He's somebody who fell out of the first round. He needs to prove that he should have been taken in the first round. But again, it's his freshman year. So I'll go 3.
I'm going to go 4. And it's because everybody that was clamoring for Cole Caulfield is now watching him tear it up at the University of Wisconsin.
Mm-hmm.
So people are going to want Brink to perform because that was kind of the consolation prize that the fans got.
I like that.
Not necessarily. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, you keep going.
It's not necessarily right. It's not necessarily fair, but it's the fact of the matter. Fans got their consolation prize in Bobby Brink, and it's a great consolation prize, but it's also not Cole Caulfield.
Right. Well, and I think we need to just throw fairness out the window here because putting pressure on these guys really isn't fair to begin with.
You're right, yeah. I mean, again, we still need something to talk about until the season starts. So
exactly. So
right.
We want to move on to the next guy.
Next guy, we have Noah Cates. University of Minnesota Duluth will be a sophomore this coming up year.
I am very excited to watch him play this year. I'm really high on Cates. He's never going to be a top 6 forward, but I really think he could be a solid bottom sixer at the NHL level. I mean, he was put on that top line for UMD for his defense. He was to shut down those top guys. So, although I'm really high on him, I don't think there's a lot of pressure here. I would say a 2.
I think you're right. I'm with you there. Plus, they're coming off a year that they won the national championship, if I'm not mistaken.
You are not mistaken. 2 in a row. He was only a part of it last year, but it's 2 in a row for them.
Yeah, and I think that, he's got that under his belt now. So he's tasted the victory, he's tasted the success, and he's hungry. He's still hungry. He wants it. And not too much pressure just because if he wanted to take it to his senior year, he's got a few more years.
Right.
Yeah, so the next guy we go to is Gavin Hayne, from the University of North Dakota. Our buddy Dave Hackstall, where he used to coach.
I mean, I'm sure he's putting pressure on himself, but the expectations are low with this guy, so I'm just going to go ahead and say 1.
I'm with you. I think, Gavin Hayden has kind of become like an afterthought in the minds of some fans.
He essentially could have been an afterthought right from the beginning, too.
Yeah, you're right. I just, you think Gavin Hayden, you're not like, oh yeah, that guy's going to be great. And it's, again, unfair, but it just is what it is.
Yes.
So next guy, Bryce Brodzinski, Mr. Hockey Minnesota of 2019.
Again, I'm really intrigued by this guy. But when you're a 7th round pick, there's just not a lot of pressure there. So I'll go ahead and go 1.
I'm saying Fletcher's going to sign him to an ELC here soon because he's an all-around Minnesota guy, and he's just going to be – it's TK. Geez. Forget about it. He's Brodzinski, Giroux, and Couturier top line.
Oh, man.
Yeah, you want shock value? There it is.
There it is. I like it.
No, not a ton of pressure. I mean, lofty comparisons because he's, has all these accolades. Sure, but he's heading to the University of Minnesota. I think he'll fare pretty well. I'm hoping.
Right. Yeah. No, I think he's going to do well too. But, just no pressure there.
No. If we're moving along the Big Ten here, we have the guy that I mistook for Wyatt Kalynuk at the University of Wisconsin. Teammates with Cole Caulfield.
Yep.
Yeah. He will be a junior this year.
Yeah, this is somebody where if you look at where he was drafted in the 7th round, you'd be like, there shouldn't be any pressure there. But he has been one of the most pleasant surprises when we're talking about Flyers prospects. I mean, he's one of the best defensemen on Wisconsin, and if you look at that roster, it's a stacked team.
Very good.
So he's had 2 great years. He's going into his junior year. It's ELC year. This is when you want to be signed. So there's going to be pressure there. I'll put it at a 3, though.
Yeah, I'll go 2. I just, again, we have the defenseman right now, and I think that he's kind of a little further down the totem pole than guys like Zamula, guys like even Wiley, honestly. Not to say he's that far off. Obviously, he's not.
Right. No. I know what you mean.
But, pressure is there, just not. He's not like, oh my God, I got to, make it to that next level.
Right.
Then we move on to Ohio State junior, or he'll be a senior, I apologize. Tanner Lashinsky.
I mean, Wade Allison version 2.
Yeah.
Pressure's as high as it could be.
Yeah. This is contract year,
Yep.
Yeah. Get it or you don't.
Yeah, and I don't even think we need to go any further than that. It's just pressure's high.
Yep.
5.
All right. Cam York.
This is an interesting one. I mean, 1st round pick, but it's his first year at Michigan, so you want to try to give him a little bit of wiggle room. But we took Cam York instead of Cole Caulfield, and if Cole Caulfield lights the NCAA on fire and Cam York doesn't, people are going to start complaining. So I'm actually going to put it at a 4.
Start complaining? Flyers Twitter always complains. That's yeah.
Right. Sure.
Pressure. You're right. Pressure's on. It's the Cole Caulfield factor.
Yep.
That's who we passed up. If he doesn't perform to the standards that Flyers Twitter deems necessary, pressure's on. So to round out college here, we've got Jack St. Ivany.
Yeah, I mean, he's just kind of one of those guys who gets lost. I mean, he's a good player, and he played in the World Juniors last year, but I don't think that people really think about him too much. So I'm going to say the pressure's really low. I'll go 1.
Yeah, I'm with you. He's become somewhat of an afterthought. He's still there, still potential to sign a deal within the next couple years, but not a ton of expectations, really.
Right. Yeah.
So now we hop across the pond. We've got some European skaters to talk about. We could just breeze through these guys.
Yeah.
Yeah, you've got a couple of defensemen. You've got David Bernhardt, Adam Yinning, Linus Hogberg. Any of those 3 really jump off the page at you saying, okay, there's a lot of pressure there?
Well, I mean, with Hogberg and Bernhardt, after this year, Philadelphia loses their rights. So there'll be some pressure there. Bernhardt was a 7th round pick. So It's still kind of low because the expectation's not too high. I would make it a little bit higher for Hogberg. I'll go 3.
Yeah.
And then Yinning, I don't think so. I mean, at this point, I'll go 2 or 3 just because some people like him.
Yeah, I out of the 3 guys, I'm a Hogberg fan over Yinning and Bernhardt. Yinning he's that big physical shutdown guy, and that role's kind of diminishing a bit in the NHL. Not to say it's not necessary, but you
only need like one of them.
Exactly. And right now we're set with that, but there's not much to it. If we're gonna take this, I guess let's go 2 more guys. We've got Ollie Leixel and Marcus Westphal.
Yeah, I mean,
more the same.
Flyers still have their rights after this. I mean, and I don't expect either of them to really come over. So pressure's low in my mind.
Yeah. Now's when things get interesting.
Okay.
I'm going to go with these 2 guys first. They're goalies. We've got Matai Tomek and Ivan Fedotov.
Do we even have Tomek's rights anymore?
We may not. If we don't have his rights, or if we do have his rights, then we shouldn't. Just he's not that good.
Right. I mean, I don't, because he's not in the he's not in college anymore. I don't think.
Let's just skip him.
Yeah, I mean, the dude's a lost cause anyway. There's no pressure there because he stinks.
Yeah. So Ivan Fedotov.
Talk Urson. No, Wait, did you say Urson or Fedotov?
I said Fedotov. You're ruining this.
Well, I was looking at the list you gave me.
Well, okay, we're gonna talk Urson first because John wants to talk Urson.
Well, if you want to talk Fedotov, we could talk Fedotov.
Listen, you like the Antonio Brown diva. Let's talk Urson first. Urson obviously is the big name.
Antonio Brown again. I'm leaving.
Urson's the big name here. Obviously, we know that. Pressure wise, I mean, is this more of the same with the goalie prospects, or is this a different case?
I think it has to be the same as Sandstrom and Ustimenko, just because again, Carter Hart, we have our future in net. I think Urson is really good. And I think he could be a great NHL goaltender, but the pressure's just not there.
You're right. I think, he can stay over there for, I think, another couple years. And he's playing against men. So it's like he's doing really well.
Right.
Even did really well at the World Junior Classic this past year's too.
Yeah, I mean, again, I'm high on him, but there's no pressure really.
No, I'm with you. Now, last guy we can go through, Ivan Fedotov. More of the same.
Yeah, I mean, who cares?
Yeah.
He's a lost. He's just kind of a lost guy at this point.
Yeah. All right. Well, that rounds out our prospect pressure scale here. And
that was lengthy, huh?
That was. I think we need to stop doing such long things because people probably just hate us talking about this stuff.
Right.
Or hearing my nasally voice.
For those of you who are still with us, thank you.
Yes, we appreciate it. We're going to get to the Twitter question of the week first. I want to do that first, and then we'll end with the wait what.
Okay.
But this week we posed to the people on Twitter asking them for their third line projections. Who's going to be on their third line this year when the season starts? And to start things off, we have PJ Laird, and he says Lindblom, Patrick, and Farabee. Pretty popular decision.
Yeah, I mean, I have no problem with that. I mean, what are we saying to this? Whether or not we agree with it, or
yeah, let's do that.
I mean, I totally agree with it. I mean, I'm a Frost guy, but I could see Farabee making the team, and if he makes the team, he should be on the third line.
Yeah, I'll go with that too. I agree. So then we move on down to Papa John. He says Patrick, Lindblom, and Raffl. Why Raffl? There have to be some wheels on that line, and Raffl's more defensively responsible. I love the reasoning, but I don't agree with it.
Yeah, I echo what you say. I like the reasoning too, but Raffl's a fourth line guy.
Yeah. We also actually were posed a question by John Zapata. He says he's decided to contribute questions for the show, which finally, thank you.
Thank you.
What should his realistic expectations be for this team? It's been a couple year hiatus, and he just wants to know what to look forward to.
Well, I mean, this should be a playoff team.
Yeah.
You're looking at a playoff or bust kind of year. I think that you're looking at expecting a lot of anger if they don't make the playoffs.
Oh, you're in for a wild ride on Twitter.
And I mean, and also this is it's a when we're talking about pressure, this is a high pressure year. Like if they don't make the playoffs or win a round, they're not even going to know what to do with themselves at this point.
It could get very ugly.
Right. But I mean, what you should expect, my friend, is for us to be a playoff team.
Yeah, expect young talent too. I mean,
Yeah,
they're
true.
stocked to the gills with it. So hopefully we see more of it here shortly.
And possible personality clashes on the bench
Yes.
via coaches.
Yeah. Vino, Tarian, and Yo.
Right.
Ooh, that's going to be fun.
Just headless coaches in the locker room.
Oh, it's going to be good. So we move next to Jim. And Jim says Lindblom, Patrick, and Rubtsov. Another fair line, I think.
It's fair. I disagree with it because I just keep going back to 14 games. I think that the organization wants to see a full year of Rubtsov in the AHL.
I agree. But it still wouldn't shock me.
No.
Yeah. So the next one comes from Dan Knightley. And Dan Knightley says Lindblom, Patrick, and Lawton. Which I like. I really like that. Because Lawton played really well on that third line winger spot last year.
But then what does the fourth line look like?
Well, Pitlick will probably center it with Raffle, and you bring up maybe Albe Kubel, and he earns his keep with the Flyers.
I was actually setting up the second part of what he said, but way to screw that up.
Well, won't you tell me what he said? Because that's what I said.
He says the fourth line will be Raffle, Pitlick, and Rubtsov.
So, 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
No, I mean, again, I think Rubtsov is one of those people where if you're not going to put him in the third line, you keep him in the AHL. I just don't see the fourth line with him.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I can't really be angry at Lawton on the third line. I just don't think that's what's going to happen.
No, I don't either. But, crazier things have happened.
Yep.
So we move on to our last one. Comes from Instigator, and he says JVR, Nolan Patrick, and Joel Farabee. Bold.
Yeah. I want JVR on the second line.
Yeah, I do too. It's a tough call because then it's Lindblom that you're placing on that second line, and you'd love to see it, but don't know if he's there yet.
Right. No, and I just think that, JVR could score like 100 goals with Hayes and Voracek.
Yeah. Hey, that'd be great.
I don't mean actually 100, but
if he did, that'd be pretty sweet.
yeah. But it's not an incredibly far-fetched suggestion. But I would rather see Lindblom there instead of JVR.
You're right. Okay, so that's really it.
Yep.
For the Twitter, I guess, poll questions, whatever you want to call it right now. We're going to move on to our, hold on a second.
What the?
Our Wait What segment, folks. John Gove's brainchild.
Right. Yeah, but this one's all you, my brother.
You don't have one this week.
I don't have one this week.
Well, I'm gonna take up both of our time here because I actually have a very important announcement. So, I'm sure most of you have seen already. If you haven't, then buckle in because it's about to get fun. Earlier this past week, I should say, let me preface this and take you back to earlier this summer. John and I were about ready to start recording. Before we record, we go to the bathroom just so we don't piss ourselves in the middle of the podcast. I walk out into our living room to go to the bathroom in the actual bathroom. I don't pee in the living room. But my wife is standing there, I should say, chugging water, which typically isn't where I'd find her when I come out. And I'm like, okay, is everything okay? And she's like, yeah, I'm fine. It's all good. I'm like, okay, let me know if you need anything. So, do my business, come back, we record the show. About 20 minutes before the show is over, she texts me and says, hey, I'm heading out to the store. I'm like, okay, check on the dog, everything's okay, we're fine. Show's done. We go back. I get off and I'm hanging out with the dog, watching some TV. She gets home, doesn't say a word to me, just plops some stuff on the counter, takes her purse, which I didn't notice at first, which rhymed, And then she went into the bathroom, and I'm like, okay, you know. So I'm sitting there with the dog. She gets out, and she's like, hey, go in there. And I'm like, no.
Ew.
I'm like, no, not doing that. Definitely not doing that.
Not falling for that joke.
Yeah, like my dad used to do that to me all the time. I know this. I know what happens here. And she was recording me on her phone. I'm like, what the world? Like, is she trying to mess with me? Because her sister, my sister-in-law, scares the living bejesus out of her fiance and records it. And it's the funniest thing, but I feel bad for him. His name's Kyle, because she does it all the time. But anyways, she's recording me, and I'm like, what are you doing? And she's like, go in there. And I'm like, no, it probably smells terrible. Like, I'm not doing that. So she finally says, she's like, go in there and look on top of the candle. We had a candle on our sink. Folks, on top of that candle sat about 18 years worth of just, I'm terrified, I'm excited, I'm going to be a dad.
Yeah, he is. Pod Street, baby.
Yep, we're having a Pod Street baby.
Yeah, we are.
I mean, like I said, you guys might have seen it already. If you haven't, this is, I guess, the official Pod Street Bullies announcement. But Derek Bob is going to be a father. I'm just as terrified as you folks are. But I'm also
going to be great.
I'm ridiculously excited. I just gotta hope it's a boy.
Yeah. Dude, that video that you put together, not going to lie, man, even though you didn't send it to me like you said you were going to,
I apologize.
Choke me up a bit.
That's my editing background. I come from I used to work at a news station, and I edited video, so it was kind of, I wanted to do something fun for it.
Your reaction was the best. You're like on
Dude,
one knee.
Let me explain something to you here, and I'm not gonna curse with it, but she told me, and I walked into the bathroom, and you see me turn around in that video, and I'm just like, you've got to be bleeping kidding me. But she cut the video off right after I said bleeping.
Oh.
So we're showing all of our family my reaction, and I'm like, yeah, not a great time to cut the video off, but you can obviously sense my excitement.
Right.
But yes.
Because
it was.
it's going through my head now.
Oh, yeah.
I didn't connect, but now I get it. Because, birds and the bees and what you said and get it? Do you get it?
I don't. But,
no? Really?
What, bleeping?
Think about it for a second.
Birds, bees, bleeping?
No, because you would have said you've got to be bleeping, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so think about what the other connotation for that bleeping word and the birds and the bees, and she must have been, but
our kid's in trouble if they're as dumb as me. But yes.
Man.
That is it.
Congrats though, brother.
Thank you very much. I'm, like I said, and like I've told a million other people, I'm equally excited and terrified.
And don't worry, boys and girls, we will be recording when it's happening.
Yes, we will be live from the delivery room. You won't be able to see it. You'll be able to hear probably.
Right. I will be giving the play-by-play.
Yes. You're like, oh, it's out, and he's got it. Yeah. But yes, that's my wait what, because when she told me, I was like, wait, what? But folks, this has been it, and this is the Pod Street Bullies. John, would you let these fine people know where they can find you?
First, I'm going to let them know about a little thing we're doing.
Oh, okay. You let them know.
So we are going to do a Pod Street Bullies Fantasy Hockey League.
Yeah, we are.
Me and Derek are going to take on 10 of our listeners. Just a little fun fantasy hockey. At the end of the year, maybe we can get the winner a T-shirt or something. But, I mean, it's going to be us, one of us, so we can get a T-shirt whenever. But,
it was me last year, I just want to say. So you guys are essentially competing for second place.
Right. Well, so anyway, if you're interested in joining our Fantasy Hockey League, we have 10 openings. Please DM us on Twitter. That's probably the best way. And just say, hey, I'm interested. If you don't have a Twitter, which I'm assuming most of you do, but I guess you might not. If you don't have a Twitter, I would say what, Derek? Email us?
Email us, podstreetbullies@gmail.com.
Yeah, I mean, and it'll be fun. Fantasy hockey's a good time.
Let me actually double check that. I'm sorry. But Our Gmail, yeah, Pod Street Bullies. It's all spelled out. So yes, email us or leave us a review on Apple Podcasts and say you want in, and then tell us how much you love us.
There it is. I like that. Actually, go that route first.
Yes. The more reviews, the merrier, because let's be honest, we know they're going to be good because you love us.
Yep. But yeah, so anyway, fantasy hockey, sign up. Well,
yes.
No, let me know, and I'll send you the link, and then you can sign up.
Yeah, we'll get it sorted out. But for me, I'm Derek. You can find me on Twitter at PuckBobPSN. You can find my work on PhiladelphiaSportsNetwork.com. You can find all of our witty remarks on Twitter as well at PodSTBullies, which you're following. So, great. But find us on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Spreaker, iHeartRadio. We are on Google Play now, I believe, as well. You'll find us.
That's fun.
Yeah, just search us. You'll find us.
There it is.
All right, folks. There it is. Just like John said. Have a wonderful rest of your week. And as always, let's go Flyers.
Bye now.